The cold wind howled across the vast, icy expanse of the Bering Sea as the small fishing boat rocked and creaked in the dark waters. It was the dead of night, and the stars shone like diamonds in the sky above, casting their cold glow on the surface below. The sea had always been a place of mystery and danger, but for 13-year-old Noah, it was a place that stirred a sense of adventure. The kind of adventure his grandfather had always spoken of with wide eyes and a twinkle in his weathered gaze. Noah sat at the helm of the boat, his hands gripping the worn wooden wheel. His best friend, Kai, leaned over the side of the boat, peering into the depths of the dark water. The Bering Sea was always mysterious, but tonight it felt different. A heavy mist had settled over the water, swallowing the boat in a blanket of damp fog. The silence was unnerving, as if the sea itself was holding its breath. "You ever heard the story about the sea vampire?" Kai asked, his voice a whisper carried away by the wind. Noah turned to him, raising an eyebrow. "The what?" "The sea vampire. They say it's a creature so old, so powerful, that it can drain the life out of the sea itself. Some people believe it still lives in these waters, waiting for its next victim." Noah chuckled, though he wasn't entirely sure why. "A sea vampire? You've been reading too many old sailor stories, Kai." Kai grinned. "I don't know, man. I've heard weird things. Weird feelings from the old folks in town. They say the Bering Sea is changing. The creatures in the water, they're different now. More violent, like something has disturbed the balance." Noah shrugged it off, but something in Kai's voice made him uneasy. "It's probably just the cold. You know how the weather can mess with your mind out here." Kai nodded but didn't look convinced. He kept his gaze fixed on the water, his eyes narrowing as if trying to catch a glimpse of something below. Then, without warning, the boat lurched, as if something massive had brushed against it beneath the surface. "Whoa!" Noah shouted, his hands flying to the wheel as the boat swayed dangerously. "What was that?" The boat calmed again, but the air was thick with tension. The two boys exchanged nervous glances. "Something's out there," Kai muttered. Noah's heart raced as he scanned the dark waters. The fog had thickened, and the world around them seemed to disappear into an endless void. He thought he saw something in the distance, an enormous shadow moving beneath the surface, as if the sea itself was alive. Suddenly, a loud, booming sound reverberated through the water. It was followed by a terrifying hiss, like the scream of a dying beast, echoing across the sea. The sound sent shivers down Noah's spine. "What was that?" Noah whispered, barely able to believe his own words. "It's it," Kai whispered back, his face pale. "The sea vampire. We've found it." The water around the boat began to ripple and churn. The shadow beneath the surface grew larger, swirling and thrashing as something huge and powerful surged toward them. Noah's grip tightened on the wheel, and he could feel his pulse racing in his throat. "What do we do?" Noah asked, his voice barely audible over the deafening roar of the water. "We run," Kai said, his eyes wide with fear. But as they tried to turn the boat and speed away, the water beneath them exploded with a violent force. The boat was thrown sideways, nearly capsizing as a massive tentacle shot from the depths and slammed against the hull. The tentacle was covered in what looked like black scales, but the surface shimmered with an eerie, sickly glow. The air was filled with a stench of decay, and Noah could feel his stomach twist as the creature's presence filled every inch of space around them. "Hold on!" Noah shouted, pulling the wheel hard to the left. But no matter how fast they tried to go, the beast was always one step ahead. The boat was being pulled toward the darkness, dragged into the creature's depths. "Get the harpoon!" Kai yelled, scrambling for the long, iron spear they kept aboard for protection. He thrust it toward Noah, who grabbed it and aimed it toward the churning water. The beast's massive head emerged from the depths, and Noah's breath caught in his chest. It was unlike anything he had ever seen, a hideous, bloated creature with glowing eyes, sharp fangs, and a mouth that seemed to stretch from one side of its head to the other. Its body was a sickly mix of tentacles, scales, and bubbling, rotten flesh. It was the very image of a sea vampire, an ancient terror, born of the depths. Noah didn't hesitate. With all his strength, he threw the harpoon, aiming directly for the creature's monstrous eye. The harpoon shot through the air, striking the creature with a sickening thud. The sea vampire let out a bone-chilling screech, thrashing violently as the water erupted around them. But the beast was far from defeated. In a final, desperate act of rage, the creature unleashed a torrent of water, sending the boat spinning out of control. The two boys struggled to hold on, their bodies thrown around like rag dolls. "Get to the engine!" Kai shouted. Noah nodded, scrambling to the back of the boat. He gripped the engine throttle and gunned it, trying to steer the boat through the wild waters. But the creature wasn't done yet. Another tentacle shot from beneath the waves, wrapping around the boat's stern and yanking it toward the depths. "Help!" Noah shouted, but Kai was already at the front of the boat, his eyes locked on the approaching nightmare. He grabbed the harpoon again, ready to make another shot. "Cover your ears!" Kai yelled, just as the beast's massive mouth opened wide, revealing rows of dripping fangs. The next moment, the boat was rocked by a sudden, deafening explosion, a blast that seemed to shake the very core of the sea. The water around them bubbled violently, and the beast shrieked as its body was torn apart by the force. Something exploded within the creature's chest, sending pieces of blackened flesh and scales flying into the air. "Did we do it?" Noah gasped, his heart racing as the boat slowly drifted free of the creature's grip. Kai, breathing heavily, nodded. "We did it. We stopped it." The sea was calm once again. The water, though still dark and mysterious, no longer seemed alive with the presence of the beast. But the damage had been done. Pieces of the monster's exploded body floated around them, and the stench of decay lingered in the air. Noah and Kai sat in stunned silence for a moment, catching their breath. "We need to get back to land," Noah said, finally breaking the silence. "We need to warn everyone." Kai nodded solemnly. "Yeah. And maybe we need to figure out what woke it up in the first place." As they steered the boat back toward the shore, the Bering Sea seemed quieter than ever, its mysteries still hidden beneath the waves. But Noah knew one thing for certain: there were creatures in this world far older and more powerful than anything he had ever imagined. And if they were going to survive in this strange and dangerous world, they would need to be prepared for whatever came next. The voyage had only just begun.